Hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of SHU Outdoors. And on today's episode, we're going to do a deep dive into Michael Thompson, the notorious ex Aryan Brotherhood gang member that dropped out. He did 45 years in prison for 2 murder convictions. He was eventually released, and that's no small feat in the state of California, especially when you have a life sentence. You have to jump through a lot of hurdles. Not only do you have to pass a psychological evaluation from a psychiatrist, you also have to make the parole board, and you also have to get the governor of the state of California to sign off on it. So after 45 years of hard time, being in dropout yards and going through all the things this man went through, he still, in my opinion, intentionally committed fraud. Now, a lot of people be like, well, ain't that kind of hard? Well, that's not what I'm saying. That's what a jury of his peers said. He was convicted. But before we get any deeper into this deep dive regarding Michael Thompson, the notorious ex-Aryan Brotherhood gang member, I want all of my subscribers to know I appreciate every single one of you. You mean the world to me. This channel is going up, and we're going to keep doing in-depth dives. I'm not afraid to tackle hard topics and hard subjects that a lot of people shy away from, because this is media. Okay, if ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, if they can cover it, so can I. Okay, I don't claim to be a criminal no more. I did my time like a man. I've moved on. And this is a YouTube channel focused on the prison genre, generally speaking, but rehabilitation, broader speaking. And when you have an opportunity to get back out on the streets after 45 years, and you allow yourself to get caught up in anything, you have to say to yourself, is this guy really as smart as he appears to be on his interviews? He was a life coach, and somehow he got caught up in signing off on a whole bunch of documents and allowed himself to face a whole bunch of other felony charges. They convicted him for embezzling over $100,000 from unemployment benefits. In fact, 2025, on January the 14th, he was convicted in Lake County, California, by a jury of his peers for fraudulently collecting over $100,000 in unemployment development benefits. Now, as an ex-offender myself, I don't even jaywalk. Because I did enough time for 2 or 3 men. 1 day in prison is too much for me. I mean, I know some people out there is like, 10 years, that ain't nothing. Well, it might not be nothing to you, but for the average guy on the street and for me, it was a big deal. I did about 30 years all told in between New York State, South Carolina Department of Youth Services, and then 10 years in the feds. That's over almost half of my life, incarcerated. It's a pretty big deal. There's no way that I'd be working somewhere and signing papers, and even if you want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, maybe he got flamboozled some kind of a way. Well, he appears to be a very intelligent person when you see him talking on the podcast and, giving interviews and whatnot. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that he didn't know what he was doing. Maybe if he signed one paper accidentally, I'd say, okay, yeah, you didn't really know what you were doing. Maybe, anybody could make a mistake like that, accidentally sign a document. But you didn't sign $100,000 worth of documents accidentally. You knew exactly what you was doing. And even if you just want to discount my point of view on it, a jury felt he was guilty too. But he's doing court tomorrow, January the 14th, for sentencing. And, he's an old man now. He was 69 when he got convicted. He's probably 70 now. And jail ain't no place to be for an older person, man. You got medical needs, you got crinks and pains and aches and so on and so forth. And in jail, you're just going to get basic medical treatment, even if you'd be lucky to get that. But you're not going to get all kind of supplements and vitamins and all kind of thing like that. They sell a few of those things on the commissary if you have the money to buy them. But really good supplements, you're not going to be able to get that in jail. And it's kind of hard for me to have a whole lot of mercy on the guy because he did 45 years in prison. Got out and allowed himself to get caught up in some other nonsense. Okay? Now, I don't wish ill will on anyone just for the sake of wishing ill will. But it comes a point in anybody's life where you got to say, look, man, I got a second chance at life. If you did 25 or 30 years in prison and you get out of jail and continue to commit crimes, it doesn't matter if it's white-collar crimes, blue-collar crimes, any kind of crimes, it's hard for me to have mercy on you. It's not like you didn't know. If he was an 18-year-old kid who accidentally signed one piece of paper and it turned out to be some kind of crime or something like that, you know what? I might say, hey, I got a little mercy on the guy. But this guy did 45 years in prison, became a life coach, and was convicted of embezzling over $100,000 from the Unemployment Administration. And I'm imagining it was in California, you know, because the last thing you want to do is tangle with the feds, because something you would get 1 or 2 years for in your state, you're looking at 10 or 20 years for in the feds. Okay? The sentencing guidelines are astronomical. So I'm imagining it's a state case. And again, man, I don't wish ill will on people, man, but it's like he set himself up for failure. I don't sign nothing. As an ex-offender, I don't sign nothing unless I thoroughly read it, understand exactly what I'm reading before I put my signature on anything. Because once you sign something, that's basically saying I consensually enter into this agreement, or I understand what I'm signing. Whatever the case may be, you're acknowledging it. You're co-signing. You signed it. So it's hard for me to believe this guy signed obviously more than one document if it amounted to $100,000 or more of fraudulent payments. It wasn't just one document. It was numerous documents. The guy was running a fraud scheme after he did 45 years in prison. Now, also remember, he's an ex-Aryan Brotherhood gang member dropout. So those guys, they're not locked down in Pelican Bay no more like they used to be. They're walking the yard in California state prisons. And if he finds himself back in a situation where he ends up back in prison, he's going to be in a real high-risk category because, you know, you don't think those guys are going to want to get at him? He's an old man now. He might have used to have been tough when he was 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, but the guy's 70 years old. He knew all that when he signed those papers. So it's kind of hard for me to have mercy on this dude, even though on one side, yeah, I kind of do because he's an old timer, you know, and I don't like to see anybody be put in prison. But even as an ex-offender, I have to say some people need to be in prison. Not only are you potentially a danger to your community, a danger to everyone around you, you're just a dumbass who does dumbass stuff. I can't defend that man. It'd be one thing if it was jaywalking and the cops arrested him for jaywalking. I'd probably say, okay, man, that's a little bit overkill. But it wasn't jaywalking. He intentionally signed those documents, intended to run a scam. He got busted, and there's a really good chance tomorrow, by the time you watch this video, more than likely, that he's going to be back in a California correctional facility, and he's really going to be in danger. Because a lot of active gang members, there's more than one way for someone to get you if you're on one of those special need yards or one of those 50-50 yards or one of those dropout yards. All they got to do is get somebody who wants to make their bones, tune them up a little bit, and the guy says, hey, I want to drop out. I can't make it here no more. Send a missile right over there where he's at and get it. It's been done before. It's going to be done again. It's not a new thing. Happens quite often. especially if he gets 3 or 4 years. It's not like he's going in for a year and may be out in 8 or 10 months with good time. No. And you already figure he's still got a life sentence hanging over his head from his prior conviction. You got lifetime parole on that. Now, maybe if you do 5 or 10 years of good behavior, they may terminate that parole. But when you get 25 to life or 30 or 40 to life and they let you out, it ain't like you're just free. You still have parole and probation and all this other stuff to deal with. So he may end up with, for all I know, depending on how California law works, with 3 or 4 years to life. They may re-invoke the life sentence on him. He may end up passing away in prison. And not for nothing, he put himself in that situation. This guy's an intelligent guy. I've heard him talk on numerous interviews. I heard him talking while he was in prison. He's not a handicapped person when it comes to his thinking ability. Okay? He was smart enough to write books, smart enough to turn his whole prison career into a money-making operation. I allege he knew exactly what he was doing when he did it and made the conscious decision to do it. So it's kind of hard for me to have mercy on a guy like that. So it's quite possible. And again, man, I'm not cheering for the guy to go back to prison, but he put himself in that situation, knowing that if he got busted, exactly what he was looking at. You know, and I hope everything works out for him, but I'd say there's probably a really good chance he's going back to prison. And again, a jury of his peers convicted him. I wouldn't have did this episode otherwise. If he'd have been found not guilty, well, there wouldn't be nothing to talk about because he's not guilty. He didn't do it. But when a jury of your peers finds you guilty of something, there's some evidence there that you did it. Plus, it's not like an average guy who's an ex-offender. My cat's just made a little mess over there, but it's part of it. But it's not like this guy is an ex-offender that nobody knows about and he goes to trial and he doesn't have to take the stand and his past is not relevant as long as he don't take the stand. This guy is a well-known, notorious Aryan Brotherhood prison gang member who dropped out and then spilled the beans and wrote books about it. So everybody on the jury knew exactly who he was. So when they look at this guy, they're like, yeah, he probably did it. And then when they started producing evidence where he signed all these documents, it's a pretty easy conviction. So again, it's kind of hard for me to have mercy on the guy because he put himself directly in one of the most high-risk situations, an individual on life parole who is a dropout of one of the most notorious prison gangs in the California state prison system. He's got a huge target on his back, even on the street. But definitely if he goes back behind those walls, and there's a really good chance that he probably will. And there's ways to get to people who's in protective custody. You just send what they call a missile. That's somebody who's prospecting for this gang. What you do is you get a couple of gang members to beat him up, but not too bad. Give him a couple of black eyes, and it looks like he's fighting back, and he just barely escapes. They put him in the hole. They come and talk to him. He's like, yeah, these guys are going to take me out if you put me back on that yard, man. I need to go to a special needs yard. They send him right to the special needs yard that Michael Thompson's on. This guy's got a huge target on his back. He knew all that. I'm not telling you something he didn't know. He knew exactly the position he was putting himself in when he chose to sign them papers. So on one hand, I don't wish ill will on anyone, but it's kind of hard for me to have mercy on this guy. He knew exactly what he was doing when he did it. So we'll see how it plays out tomorrow for him in court, and maybe we'll do a follow-up episode. But I'd be willing to bet just about anything he's heading back to prison with a huge target on his back. And I wish him well, but with all due respect, he made his bed. Now he's got to lay in it. He had an opportunity. And what did he do? He squandered it, like so many ex-offenders do. That's why I got so much respect for Chad Marks. He got out of prison. He didn't squander his opportunity. He took advantage of it. So until next time, guys, stay up. I wish you the best. I appreciate the views. And if you remember to do it, hit like, subscribe, share this content, and we're going to keep pumping them out, man. And I'm really grateful for all of you guys, and I wish you the best.